Good morning, North Dakota AARP members and friends and others. It's all things AARP. State Director Josh Asker here with you. Janelle Most is with me. Like, we're back.
Now it's a non-legislative year, so this is a little strange.
Non-legislative, week, but we will get to some advocacy stuff. But before we do that, we have a great episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about a recap of our hiking series that we did this summer. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened during the legislative session earlier this year. And then in our AARP add-on, we're going to talk a little bit about where you can get some quick tips and tricks from AARP. So it's summer. It is, well, no, summer's over.
Yeah.
Summer's over. Football season's here.
Football season.
Marnie's favorite topic, sports ball. As part of it, in case you're wondering, Marnie doesn't like to talk about football. In fact, she told us we had to stop
before we started.
Except for high school football. So, as you heard in the back. So, with that, let's get started with today's episode. And we're first going to jump to AARP North Dakota in your community. For those of you who joined us this summer, we were hiking again. We did 5 hikes around the state of North Dakota. We started in Fort Ransom. Let me see if I can name these. Fort Ransom, Fort Stevenson, Icelandic State Park, Metagoshi, and then last week, was that just last week?
That was just last week, yep.
Feels like a lot longer ago, but just last week we were out in Medora at the Theodore Roosevelt National Park and also at Sully Creek State Park, I might add, as well. One of the things I want to give is a huge shout out to our park managers and interpreters at all of the places, including the national park. We had great input and insight from our park folks. They were wonderful hosts, and hope you got a chance to join us. We've gotten out and about. We talked about brain health and the importance of staying active and engaged, being outdoors, de-stressing, knowing that being in nature reduces stress levels, helps bring down depression, lowers stress hormones, allows for better sleep, fosters creativity. We heard a lot about just the socialization aspect of it, of people connecting that had connected at previous hikes as part of it. And so super, super excited about it. Last week was kind of just a great capstone to all of it.
It really was. And I think people just have missed being together in groups. And so being outside really fosters that. And they just really enjoyed learning about both the state park as well as the national park. I think so many people don't know of all the great things that we have in the state. So really getting out there and seeing it and having those great tour guides, both from the state and the national park, really helped people dig in and understand hiking and see the beauty out in Medora. Absolutely.
So Marnie did an excellent job putting together a short little video to show about what happened in Medora last week.
What are your names?
I'm Merle.
Teresa Anderson.
And you've been on every hike this summer. What brought you on these AARP hikes and kept you coming?
Well, it's a chance to see the state.
And meet all the people that were coming out for them and see all the different parks that I didn't even know about.
What are you excited about today as we are here on the Mattahay and near Theodore Roosevelt National Park and right here in North Dakota's beautiful Badlands? What's exciting to you?
Well, I grew up in the area, so to get to come back and just search and hike and immerse myself in nature is really wonderful.
Again, as Cleve mentioned, here's a typical Mattahay side. It's cut this way where the trail is on this side of the cut.
Today we are out here in the Badlands in Medora, Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and the Mattahay Trail. What have you enjoyed about today, and what do you look forward to doing for the rest of the day?
Well, it was we just returned from the Mattahay, and it was a nice view, and it's accessible. Just about anybody can do it, and you get a good idea of you're in the middle of the park, so it's kind of nice.
beautiful video. Nice job, Marnie. She did a great job. And I want to thank our folks who, Rita, Merle, and Teresa, thank you for doing the interviews. Rita, Merle, and Teresa have been to all 5 hikes with us this summer. So it was great to hear from them about what they saw and what they enjoyed as part of it. I also want to give a shout out and thanks to Mark Zimmerman and his sister Glee for leading part of a hike on the Mattahay Trail as part of it, and also to Maureen from the National Park Service out at the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. She was great talking about the park and helping us out with that. So with that, hike series is over. More to come. We got other events coming down the road. You can always find our stuff at aarp.org/ND events. In fact, we have an event. We just completed an event in Grand Forks and Fargo, and we got a couple more coming up, and we'll be out and about if you're in the Bismarck area at the street fair tomorrow and Saturday as well. So with that, we're going to jump to segment 2, which is AARP North Dakota Advocacy. Janelle, you're here as our advocacy director. You know, and many of our viewers know, we have a strong focus in the North Dakota office on fraud prevention, fraud awareness. Until this year, we had primarily focused that work on education and awareness and building, and that, not that we're not still doing that, we're doing plenty of that. Hopefully folks see us on our regular appearances on KFYR in the Bismarck area, Bismarck and Western North Dakota, KVLY if you're out in the eastern part of our state, in the Fargo area and whatnot. But we really had it in part because we heard from those of you watching and some of your colleagues about the need to do more in the advocacy space. And so talk a little bit about what the work we did this legislative session and the win we had this session about pushing back on fraud.
Well, and you're right. I think because we've done so much education and awareness around fraud, we really had a great foundation to build on. And due in part, Senator Judy Lee from the West Fargo area, as well as Commissioner Tyler from the Securities Commission, they really felt that this was a great opportunity to take a step forward and go beyond just that awareness. And so Senate Bill 2325, which was a Fraud Restitution Fund, it was a bill that was introduced in the Senate, but again, by Senator Lee, also by Senator Barta and Senator Roars.
Jim Roars.
Yeah, Jim Roars. And then Representative Belts, Boucher, and Schreiberback. You know, these were the sponsors on the bill, but this was a huge step forward. And again, it's not going to address all frauds and scams across the state. It's really narrowly focused on that securities and investment fraud, which is important for folks to know.
So talk just a little bit about that. So this restitution fund focuses on investment fraud, and it's really about trying to help get people back up on their feet. How does it work? Like, if somebody out there says, hey, I may have been, or I think I've been a victim of an investment scam, talk about how do they maybe get access to this fund, and just a little bit about what it takes to get there.
The first step is really to report it. You know, go to the Securities Commissioner. They'll have a page dedicated on their website, and we also have a dedicated page too. So we want to make sure that there's really a no wrong door approach. Right. You see on the screen aarp.org/fraud fund. That is the place to go. It's going to direct you to the securities, because if they don't know what's happening, they can investigate it. You as a victim might not get, you know, the eligibility to get that restitution fund. So the first step is really to report that. From there, you know, if there is a suspected, you know, investment fraud, the commission will go and investigate that. And there'll be a lot of steps in this process. But ultimately, after a case has been, you know, all through the system, it's not going to make victims completely whole, but we know it's going to really make a huge impact if you say you've lost millions. And we know so many North Dakotans, you know, are victims of fraud every day, and they've often lost a lot of their life savings. You know, this fund will at least help you take a step in the right direction towards healing and getting back up on your feet after you've been a victim. Yeah,
the total fund is capped at $1 million over 2 years. The most an individual could get is $50,000, or half of what it is they lost, whichever is less. So, but it is an important step in distinction of recognizing that there are instances where people are scammed. The commissioner does her work and staff does their work, gets an adjudication in favor of the victim. But unfortunately, that criminal has spent the money and it's gone and there's no place to get it from, then they can access this. So the important thing is aarp.org/ND fraud fund. And then if you are a victim of a scam or suspect you've been a victim of any scam, investment or otherwise, report it. Because if you don't report it, there's nothing that can be done in that instance.
You know, and I think an important point is that we're really starting to shine a brighter light on that these are crimes, and,
That's right.
and there are criminals behind these.
Yep.
And you shouldn't be, feel like that you were duped, or that, you were tricked into this. These criminals are very savvy when it comes to, especially investment fraud. So again, don't be afraid to report it. The more that we get out there and report it, the more that they can go after these criminals, and the more that we can make sure that folks like that don't get away with, wreaking havoc on someone's life savings.
Absolutely. And hopefully you'll be hearing, we're doing a big awareness campaign effort that just kicked off recently, and will be rolling for about the next month. And so if you see the ad talking about the AARP.org/ND Fraud Fund, drop us a note in the comments. Let us know that you've seen it. We'd love to hear that folks are seeing it and are aware about it, and help us spread the word. Share our Facebook posts, share away the AARP.org/ND Fraud Fund page, so folks know about it. Nice work, Janelle. Nice work to our volunteers. That's this episode's AARP North Dakota advocacy segment, and we're going to move into the AARP North Dakota add-on. This is, as you remember, an area where we highlight relevant national information from AARP or any other initiative that we think you might want to know about. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the AARP Minute, and this is something that I think we're all becoming aware of just in the AARP North Dakota office, but is pretty fun. Every day, AARP puts out what's called the AARP Minute. It gets pushed out in quick snippets, usually on social media is where I'm usually seeing them. They get tweeted out or posted on Facebook. I know what caught Marnie's the most recent one caught Marnie's attention. I cannot talk this morning. Marnie has 2 twin senior boys in high school, and so there was a recent one on empty nesting, becoming an empty nester. So great tips and information. It's 1 minute long. Surprise, surprise, right? The AARP Minute. You can always find it at aarp.org/AARP Minute, but they always have fun, engaging topics. So with that, that's it. That is this episode's AARP all things AARP North Dakota. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk a little bit about volunteering and its health benefits. We're going to talk with some of our volunteers, I think, and looking forward to that. We're always around 10:30, the second, fourth Thursday of every month, live on Facebook or YouTube, or you can always watch the recordings afterwards. So, Janelle, anything you want to leave?
No, it felt like old times.
It does feel like old times.
This is great. But they'll get a year off from us next year.
Yes.
But we'll always make sure that we pop up and give them little updates here and there, because there's a lot of work still going on during the legislative interim session. So you'll hear some updates from us, but
future episodes of all things AARP North Dakota, we're going to talk about voting access, ballot measures, a number of other things. So even though it's not a legislative session, lots going on. So with that, this is the September 14th